I now get to work with people who are extremely successful, who are very high profile, who've done amazing things, or who at least are famous, right? Who at least are seen for what they do. One of the biggest fears for 30 years as I've worked with people is that, what if I don't have the next great idea? What if people recognize that I don't know what I'm doing? Just like all these kind of catastrophic snowball things that don't happen. But because our brains, from a cognition standpoint, are programmed for survival. Our brains are not programmed for connection. They're not programmed for love. They're not even programmed really for success until we can tweak the alignment feature. A lot of people call it mindset. I don't like mindset because mindset is very heady. Alignment is very everything.
Welcome to the Throne of Wealth, the podcast that empowers you to reign over your financial future. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth-building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. The Throne of Wealth is brought to you by King of Kings accounting firm, where financial challenges become opportunities for growth. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode, and today we have a guest speaker, someone that empowers entrepreneurs, someone that truly believes in the power of relationship and that energy that we bring to the workplace based on what I hear, Tressa. Thank you so much for being with us today, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Karen. I have been looking forward to this for so long, since February, I think. So it's really good to be here with you. And I can't wait to have this conversation because everything is relationship, and our relationship with money is vital. And just, in the name of your firm, like the King of Kings firm, I want to know more about that, because that is alignment relationship as well.
Beautiful. Okay, I will start. I love that. No one ever asked that question, but I love that. So King of Kings was, an idea that came from a prayer. So back in 07, 08, when we had the recession, my husband and business partner were in school. And so the hard days, economy, nobody wanted to hire young undergrad students at the time with no experience, not a lot in the resume. And so, I remember that we struggled a lot. It was a very difficult time for us, to find a job, even someone to pay you just $8 an hour. So after a prayer, we go to a church on Sunday, and then the preacher says, "Hey guys, just have faith. God listens to your prayers." And I'm like, how does he know? I mean, everyone has prayers. And why is he talking to me like that? And so I was like, is this something special? Is he going to tell me something? I was so wanting to hear something to encourage us and empower us and enlighten us and give us a vision and a purpose. I'm a big believer that we are created with a purpose in life. So from there, we went back to school that week, and we get called into our advisory, the advisory office, when your advisor kind of calls in what courses you should be taking, your program, your expenditure in the college, and all of these things. So we both get called in, and coincidence, we have the same last name, but we're not related. So I'm like, what are you doing here? And what am I doing here? And so why did they call us in? Do you think FAFSA declined? They're going to kick us out of school. So we were just thinking the worst. And so that time we were both pursuing a legal degree. And so we were both wanting to be an attorneys, go to law school, and, be litigators in the future, right? So when we get called in, the advisor says, "Hey guys, I think you both should do a dual degree, still pursue your legal, but add accounting." And I'm like, hell no, I'm not adding accounting. More cost, more studying, more money, more time. And on top of that, I don't like numbers. So I'm not doing it. And I said, no. One looks at me and he says, "Not the one who's praying every night for an answer. You are." And I'm looking at him and I'm like, this is the answer? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So then the advisor says, Miss Nathan is her name, says, "Karen, listen up. Listen, I had you both in mind. And I don't know if you believe in energy. I don't know if you believe in the creator. I don't know if you believe in something bigger, but I believe, I believe in a lot. And I have my belief in, and I strongly believe that this is something that it's, it's a purpose for you guys. You guys can help so many families. You guys can help so many people when it comes to their finances. You guys can help people create financial freedom. And you guys have gone through a lot when it comes to your finances that you guys, will talk from an experience that you have experienced, lived through. And so we went home that day, came back and said, you know what, I'm enrolling into the accounting program. So put me in. It added like 3 more years to our career. She said it was going to be fast, but it wasn't. So there was no fast in that. It added like 3 more years and a lot more student loans that I'm still paying for all of those listeners out there that they know what it's like to go to school and, and have student loans. Still paying a lot of that. But anyways, we came back to it. And you know what? Juan started the firm in 2012. I started more in the legal side, working more with law firm owners, directing a lot of the growth in firms, and I did that for close to 12 years as well. And you believe the number of families that have come to us and say, Karen, I positioned my business, I was able to sell my business, I was able to exit my business, I was able to grow my business, I was able to create this. It's so beautiful to see, they work every day, they work so hard, they push through their business, and then we create this robust tax planning, and they're investing in their family. Their eyes are open to a different role when it comes to investments, creating financial freedom, because a lot of the times we think having cash is having freedom. It's not. It is not. And so how do you create wealth, and how do you protect your family from yourself, right? And I teach a lot of that. And so now we see the purpose behind it, but that's where King of Kings came from. And that's why we name it King of Kings, because we're just administrators. This was given to us, and we're gonna do things premium, elite, and by God's purpose, and we're gonna lead with excellence. But we're just administrators of the firm, so we'll go ahead and name the firm King of Kings. And every day when I look at the name, I'm gonna tell you something. It has excitement, but a lot of stress, because I'm like, this thing has a lot that we have to stand up. So there's a lot in operations that have to happen. For us, it's a non-negotiable when it comes to operational excellence. We understand that there's errors, there are mistakes that happen, but we work so hard every day to reduce that, and it's a constant. And I look at the sign, and I told Juan last year, hey, should we have this name or change the name? He said, you're not touching the name, Karen. That's where kids come from. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for explaining that, because it tells me a lot about who you are and how you do business. And that kind of alignment, that kind of relationship with just the name, like how the name came to you and was, it helps you structure how you do what you do for people and with people. And so when I'm working with people in relationships, and I work on the corporate side too, with leadership teams, with boards, I love working with high profile couples, but that's come from working with leadership. And so when we are in these bigger companies, working with teams that are functioning to serve, right, the ethos or the mission statement, the first thing I want to make sure is, are we aligned with the mission in integrity? Or does the mission say what we think people want to hear so that they'll buy? Because those are two different energetics and systems for functioning. And so when I hear you talk about the alignment of the name, the ethos, the playbook, and that the name recalls you, brings you back to what that playbook is every single day, that gives me total confidence in how you do what you do and why you do it. And I think right now, especially in the age of AI, where everything is a relationship, our relationship with AI, our relationship with each other, we need to feel the real. Like, I'm already, like, within the first few weeks, was tired of the AI generated photos of people. Yeah, it's great that you're riding a, rainbow colored tiger, on the moon or whatever it is. But who are you?
Yeah.
What do you stand for? What's real that I can grab onto and know that I can have that trust in you and between us. And when you talk about financial freedom, wealth building, that having money isn't actually freedom. I was honestly just having this conversation with my partner in the car this morning on our commute. And I said, to me, having wealth and having built wealth and continuing to do so is the deployment of my money to make money for me. And knowing that what I do in the world and how I do it has such significant value that it is a fair trade for the value of money and people's time, which I value very much. So for me, wealth is safety, but it doesn't buy happiness. It buys safety. And then he said that to him, it's freedom, but his definition of freedom and my definition of safety were exactly the same. So it's interesting, it's interesting to listen to what people define, because we use semantics, we use the words, we think it's the same because we're hearing through our lenses. And when he said that this morning, I went, oh, we have the same value system around what wealth is. We just don't have the same value system about how to build it, because he wants to work in a W-2 job and just keep putting money away. And I keep saying, I never found for me, but I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. But so I never found for me that working in a W-2 job brought me the wealth that I wanted to feel as safe as I needed to feel. So how do you feel about that? What do you say to people who want to build wealth, have the ability to have freedom, safety, and they're in a W-2 position? What can they do?
It's mentality, right? You're limited to the accessibility that you have when it comes to the money accessible to you at the time to make the type of investment that you might want or wish for. If your income or money coming in, it's limited. If you're on the salary basis, we know that you're limited to, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 per weekly or per pay period that you have coming into you. And from that, you have to subtract any taxes that are being subtracted and any payments that you got to make on any fixed responsibilities that you have every single month. But let me put you this example. I had a wealth creation. This is one of our events. We do 3 a year. We had an event in 2022, and I had a very good audience, very good crowd in that event. I had 80 plus businesses, business owners that were sitting in the room, and everyone was understanding, like you were saying, seeing things with a different lens, right? So right now, you and I are on this podcast and can have a different understanding of what wealth and security is. And others might name it freedom. So this lady approached me at the end of that event and said, Karen, you spoke so much about having financial freedom, but financial freedom doesn't necessarily mean that you have, millions of dollars invested. Financial freedom for everyone needs to be defined to how they see themselves in the future. For some folks might be, being able to travel and be with their family and not having to work because they're obligated to work, but because they want to work. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to retire at a certain age. It just means that you're creating the future you want to live. You're creating the type of lifestyle you want to enjoy while being on this earth, because each one of us is going to have, like my daughter says, an expiration date. So it's how do I live my life and how do I enjoy every moment with intentionality? So I sat her down in a table and I asked her a couple of questions, and I say, if I were to ask you today, how do you see yourself 10 years from now? If 10 years move in front of you right now on the screen, and we're fast forwarding and we are on this day right now, that was, 2022, we are in 32. So how do things see to you today? Paint me that picture. So she started painting a picture, writing things down on a notepad. She was actually doing the exercise while sitting with me. And she said, one of my biggest goals is, and she started to cry, that I create this not only for me, single mom with 2 children, with my 2 children, my parents who are older and will soon at that age, I need to care for them. Meaning at that time, I'm going to have more expenses. I am going to have to pay someone to drive them or take them to their medical appointments. I am going to have to either have someone to care for them. So these expenses are coming, and they're coming in 10 years. right? So these are things that we really have to sit down, pause, and think for a second. Where am I today? What things and changes, what life events are happening in the future, and how can I prepare and create things for that? So she started to create all of those events. And I said, if I were to ask you today, how much money, liquidable money that you can turn into cash do you have today? She said, I don't have. This is why I'm speaking with you, because I have a salary and I'm only making like $800 every week. I don't know how to read. I am an illegal immigrant that I came to this country. I am working, cleaning houses, and my job is not stable as all these business owners that are here. But I said, when I hear this event and when I look at that app, and I've been doing my taxes with you guys in one of your offices for all of these years, I said, I'm going. I don't have a business, but I'm going. This is interesting and I want to learn. And I said, because of that action that you took, do you believe in yourself? She said, I do. I said, when you want to create something bigger than you, first, you have to make sure you believe in yourself. There can't be doubts. And I said, you can't say, I am successful if I have fear. You can't be angry and be grateful at the same time. It's one or the other. I said, you can believe, and they say, I have doubts. If you have doubts, you don't believe. So if you're going to tell me today that you believe, that means you're not going to have doubts. And when the doubts come in, you're going to say, oh, stay aside, because I believe in what I'm doing. And so we started having that conversation. And as she was writing down, I said, here's the plan. You're going to go. She did the whole inventory, what she had in her apartment. She listed her sofa. She listed her dining room table. She listed her TV, everything. You're going to do a garage sale in the next 2 weeks. You're going to sell everything. You're going to cash out this, and this is going to create a $30,000 down payment for your first investment. I said, for the first year, you're not going to have a chair where to sit. You're not going to have a TV where to watch TV. You don't need that. We don't need that to live. We just need a roof. We just need a place to go, lay our head, and continue to do the next it, and continue to do it again, and continue to do it again, right? But you want to create something bigger than you. So do you believe in that? She said, yes. She went, sold everything. I didn't think she was actually going to do it, to be honest with you. She comes back like 6 weeks later in 2022, okay? She comes back 6 weeks later. Before the end of 2022, we have purchased 2 rental homes. Now, I am not a realtor. I do not sell real estate. I am a tax strategist. I'm an accountant. And what I do is projections for people. How do we create the life that we want, right? And how do we get to leverage the tax code to offset tax liability? This is what this is about. So she bought the 2 houses. I said, okay, we're going to leverage equity in 2023. In 2023, she bought 9. That made it 11. In 2024, she bought 7. That made it 18. In 2025, she got 6. We got to 24. In 2025, it's 6 in Q1. We got a building that is $3.4 million that right now it appraised and is a value of 4.2. She built her entire portfolio. She's still living in the same apartment. She's now having cash flow from all of these assets that she has purchased throughout these 3 years. She's super disciplined. She drives the same Corolla. And she's like, Karen, when would I upgrade my lifestyle? I said, is there something wrong with a lifestyle right now? You say you wanted something bigger than you, right? And we made a plan. So stick to it and enjoy your life. Enjoy the time with your children. Enjoy the freedom that you wanted to create and you dream of. Beautiful. And so this is one of the stories. So she's in a plan to buy 2 properties this year with financial statements and leveraging, right? Obviously debt, but at the same time, leveraging that she has tenants. She has people that is paying for her dreams in the future. She's creating equity on each of these assets, and she's still cleaning houses.
Oh, that's really incredible.
So
does
it's
she,
like,
yeah, does she enjoy it? Is she enjoying her life?
You know, there's an enjoyment and there's passion. There's difference in the two, right? When you do what you're passionate about, it's an everyday. And when you make your career or your job, your passion, you become dissatisfied. It no longer becomes pleasant to you. Because, you know, that's what I tell people. When you pursue your passion, you got to think of it. This is something I'm going to do daily. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like I love what I do. And I don't think I could stop doing what I do because I'm so passionate. I'm always thinking outside the box. What problem am I solving next? But, you know, when it comes to things like this, it's like, where am I gonna, not everyone enjoys their job, but what they need to understand is it's temporarily, because you're building something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
love that. Her story is incredible, and the way you tell it is so engaging. And I'm cheering her on, through the whole way that you're telling it. And one of the things that came up for me as you were talking was that that's available to all of us. And most of us need a Karen in our corner who will say, "Hey, I see you. Here's a path. If you choose to take it, here's what can happen." And so people need a lot of times to have somebody who also sees the dream, because I meet so many people. I now get to work with people who are extremely successful, who are very high profile, who've done amazing things, or who at least are famous, right? Who at least are seen for what they do. And one of the biggest fears for 30 years as I've worked with people is that, what if I don't have the next great idea? What if people recognize that I don't know what I'm doing? What if, just like all these kind of catastrophic snowball things that don't happen. But because our brains, from a cognition standpoint, are programmed for survival, our brains are not programmed for connection. They're not programmed for love. They're not even programmed really for success until we can tweak the alignment feature. And a lot of people call it mindset. I don't like mindset because mindset is very heady. Alignment is very everything. So when we are in alignment, like you talk about with the King of Kings name and where that came from, the alignment in us comes from, oh yeah, I feel the gravitational pull of being successful. Now, what are the steps to do that? Because our brain wants to solve problems. But it also wants to keep us safe. So if we say, how do I get from here to here within X amount of time? Then our brains will start helping us solve for that, rather than saying, oh, you better stay home and just keep going to your job. Go home, come back, work your job, cash your check, count your pennies, those kinds of things. But if we can get to the place where we're in alignment, like you're talking about with your client, with you, with your husband, with King of Kings, then now we have something. Now we have purpose. Now we have reason to go beyond what's comfortable for us and be able to meet ourselves in that alignment and meet everybody else we're needing to help. So while your client is helping people be housed or have businesses or all of those things where they couldn't afford to own those properties on their own, she now provides that safety for other people. And my theory, after doing this for 30 years and being here for a little bit longer than that, is that we're all just teaching and serving love.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have an ROI as it applies to corporate. So when we talk about serving love and meeting the need of love, that could be as a barista, that can be as a property owner, that can be as an accountant, that can be as doing what I do, which is working directly in relationships. It can be as a CEO, but ultimately, if we forget that, it changes the trajectory of our alignment. And it's not that people who are not good humans, right? Those people haven't been successful. There are a lot of people who are very successful by not being nice, and I don't think it's a sourcing of niceness. I think it's a sourcing of alignment and connection. And that's where we find that missing piece, where people say, I have the wealth, I have the toys, I have the tools, I have everything that I'm supposed to have to be happy. Tell me why I'm still not happy. Every time, what I've found for 3 decades is that source of that happiness is self-worth and alignment.
100%.
Yeah. And I love that we agree on that, because we can come from different parts of the world, different cultures, different knowings, different educations, different focuses in our work, and it remains the same. And that's what I've found in everybody I've worked with. And most of the people that I've worked with are very successful. I've also worked with like the daycare provider down the street from me, where I've lived, and it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what socioeconomic or cultural place we're at. It is about this alignment and self-worth, so that we can bring the best of us when we do the personal work. We can bring the best of us into the places between us. And then everything changes.
Yeah.
Like you did with your client.
Yeah, because when we lead, you said something off the podcast, before we started today, that when we lead from a point of fear, um, you know, it's not the same as leaders. And just to go back a little bit, when you define success and happiness, we have to be understand and in the understanding that it's something that is temporary. Happiness comes and goes. And like right now, I could be very excited and happy, and I just get an email, or I get a text message, or a situation happens, and then that happiness goes away. So happiness is something that is momentarily, and we as leaders, we as parents, we as business owners, as people, have to take care of ourselves and have to be responsible for our own happiness. Because one of the things that I tell myself, it's like, it's easy to lead others or to tell others what to do, but when you don't put it into practice, that's the hardest part. So I tell myself every morning, it is so hard to lead you, Karen. Like, sometimes you make shift in mind and decisions that they're so aggressive, and it's just like they're so hard to push back. So for example, one of those examples that I will say is, I get a text or a situation happens right now. I allow myself, I said, it's okay for 2 minutes. You can get all mad you want. You can get angry, release that bad energy, and let's go back into that calm mode, that, protect your peace of mind mode, like that you are a leader, right? I impact my children, my spouse, my employees, my clients, people, and I'm affecting myself, right? If I continue to be unhappy and unsatisfied. So when we talk about success, we gotta define what success means for us. It's a financial success that we're looking for. But if we look just for financial success and we don't take care of our own self, then we're harming our family, our loved ones, and our employees, and we're taking everyone with us, right? And I've seen a lot of a lot of leadership, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners that are doing 8, 9 figures. That they consider themselves successful. But then when we look at internally, when we talk about, how is your family, how are things, a lot of things are superficial.
Yeah.
When we talk about, other type of success, it's like other people, their success is having, a very united and strong family. So success doesn't mean equal for everyone. It's not monetarily, it's not about relationship with money. Now, you said something very interesting earlier in our conversation. What is the relationship that you have with money? Because sometimes people misunderstand this and they say, I'm humble. And therefore, this is the only thing I can do. Listen, if you're wealthy, you can help so many, and you can donate to charities. You can do so much in the community. And when you're limited on resources, there's a lot that you're not able to do, not even help your family. So let's get that kind of like clear and straight out there. But tell us more about that, what you meant earlier in our conversation. That to me, it stood out. And I'm like, what does she mean, relationship with money?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially from someone who works with money, because that our relationship with ourselves is reflected in everything.
Yeah.
So how we feel about ourselves, the truth, it can even be the subconscious truths, patterns, stories that we learned way back. And typically that's what impacts us the most. Because what happens when we're very young and we get a story or we pick up a pattern from the people around us who have fear, who want us to be safe, who are doing their best, we hope. But ultimately, there are stories about our value when we're really young. So we tend to, because we're not old enough or wise enough at that point, to make a choice about whether we're going to carry that story with us or not. We tend to organize our systems, our lives, our patterns around those stories about our value. So now we're grown-ups, we're making money, and if we look, I'm guaranteeing this, if we take a moment, take a breath, and just look at how you value yourself, your worth, your presence in the world, and then look at how you handle money, you're going to see a lot of correlates. So I will give you an example. When I made my first $1 million, I was pretty young, and I've always been an entrepreneur. And I've always also liked to work with and for people just to understand how things work. And to have the safety of a W-2 so I could buy things before I had the established growth. But when I made my first $1 million, subconsciously, now looking back at it, I did everything I could to make sure I gave all of it away, that I didn't have any of it. So what happened was I paid my people a lot. I got them gifts. There were, big gifts. I put all the money back into the company. I made sure subconsciously that everybody else was very well taken care of and that I ended up with debt.
Wow.
Right. Based on, now when I look at it, how I valued myself, my worth. And the story that I had gotten when I was very young was that you make sure that everyone else is taken care of, even if it means that you're smiling and making good enough conversation so that nobody notices that you don't have what you need.
Wow.
Right? So now we take a deep breath and we go, okay, I can see that. Please don't need to lose $1 million to do that, to understand it. But if we can take a look right now at what our self-worth is and how we handle our money, we're going to see the parallels there. And now that we see it, we can't unsee it. Now we can do something positive, beneficial, better about it. We can create a new pattern because now we've seen the old pattern. The old pattern doesn't work. If we're constantly in debt, if we're constantly creating debt, if we're constantly spending so that we feel better, right? So whatever that is, the car, the face, the whatever it is, the makeup, the whatever that you think you're supposed to have, externally motivated, externally captivated by what we think will make us look better, feel better, belong. Ultimately, it's about belonging. Ultimately, everything is about relationship and connection because we are a species that is basically a herd animal. We need each other. There are very, very, very few people who feel legitimately whole and good when they're by themselves all the time. We need each other. So from that, we think that belonging is bought because marketing has done such a great job. And I love the psychology of marketing because once we understand it, we can see behind the curtain and go, oh, I see how they're selling me that. They're looking at my self-worth and my lack in order to get me to purchase those things. So when you're talking to your client and you say, listen, you're going to sell everything and you're not even going to have a chair for the next year and you're going to like it. What you're doing is you're setting up a whole different paradigm. So instead of, like 10, 20 years ago, whatever it was, people were standing in front of Lamborghinis that were not theirs in order to look like they had the success and wealth that they were wanting to have, that they were projecting on themselves and they wanted people to see before they had it. Now we value the integrity of, listen, man, I'm just building. Like, I'm just doing the best I can. Thank goodness. And yet there are still these external motivators that we put the locus of control outside of ourselves, literally in the hands of subconscious patterns and stories from people long ago and to marketers. So this relationship that we have here, it all begins here. So when I'm working with high profile couples, the relationship starts here. When I'm doing live in-person dating and relating with soul events, the relationship starts here. And I tell people, part of my advertising is, you're not coming to my events. It's not a speed dating with soul event so that you can find your one. It's so that you can find yourself and so that you can require the right one. So we're going to have conversations and you're going to meet people and you're going to have depth where you're going to think, whoa, there are other people. It blows my mind. And now I have hope that there are other people who actually want to live this way too, have this depth, have this level of connection that we've known, we've yearned for, but nobody's given us the language. Nobody taught us in school how to have connection and relationship skills. They taught us how to be good workers. So now we're coming into a place where now I want a relationship that is deep, that is connected, that is expansive, that we can grow together. We need to feel that same way about our money.
Yeah. Yeah. So Trisha, I love that. How can people connect with you and how can they find you and learn more about what you do?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Find me at TressaYonekawa.com. I'm Tressa Yonekawa on all the socials. And my links will be here in this podcast. Yes. So yeah, thank you for that. And thank you, Karen, because this expanding what we do in relationship to have to include our money is so important. And thank you for what you're doing in the world.
Thank you for being with us, and please connect, and that information will be here in the bios of this podcast. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for listening to The Throne of Wealth. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review to help others find the show. A special thanks to our sponsor, King of Kings Accounting Firm, dedicated to helping you build and protect wealth for generations. Until next time, take the reins of your financial future and lead with confidence.